there's a new chapter in the saga that has been Michigan and Connor Stalions and the NCAA, and then also you have the subplot of a little Jim Harbaugh versus Bret Bielema. Let's start there. Bret Bielema, being a menace on Twitter, love him for it, the head coach of Illinois, quotes a clip of Jim Harbaugh, an old clip of Jim Harbaugh now, mind you, when he was the head coach of the 49ers, essentially saying, hey, it's important to tell the truth. If you don't tell the truth, that's on you. You should tell the truth no matter what, is essentially what he says in the clip. Bret Bielema quotes that on Twitter and says, well, is that why you ran to the NFL? Like essentially saying, hey, you got caught cheating, therefore you decided to take your party to the NFL and you ran essentially from the smoke, is what he's getting at. Now, I have no problem with Bret Bielema breaking out the Twitter fingers, but it parlays pretty nicely in the timeline into the story breaking from Yahoo's Ross Dellinger that Michigan, putting the boxing gloves on, getting ready to get after it with the NCAA when it comes to the Connor Stalions allegations. To put it simply, Michigan feels like the NCAA jumped the gun, sent him a 137-page novel using words like or phrases like wildly overreaching, grossly overreaching, things of that nature, to pretty much say to the NCAA, hey, listen, you brought the hammer down pretty swiftly on Jim Harbaugh. Feels like you might bring the hammer down on a one Sherrone Moore for the way that he went about his cell phone inbox. We're going to call your bluff on that. Think you moved too quick? Let's dance. Let me say this. Nobody is wrong for how they feel about this situation. Like if you're an Ohio State fan, if you're a Big Ten fan in general, you probably feel like, hey, Michigan cheated. That's wrong. They should be punished. Bury them under the jail. I don't think you're wrong for having that opinion. If you're a Michigan fan, you're saying, hey, got that natty. Connor Stalions hasn't worked for us for a minute. Touch grass if you got a problem with this. My take on this, when this whole thing started around Connor Stalions and the whole sign stealing investigation and those allegations was, yeah, Michigan probably cheated. Yeah, they should be punished. And with that being said now, as to how much they should be punished, we're probably going to disagree on. Take it a step further, as to the impact that the alleged sign stealing had on Michigan's success is another discussion overall. Like, sign stealing is wrong, and the way that sign stealing allegedly was conducted from Michigan's side was wrong. But for the record, they were punished. Jim Harbaugh missed the Penn State game, the Ohio State game, missed the Maryland game, I believe it was as well for Michigan. Like, he missed the most important stretch of Michigan's season at the end of the year where they played some Big Ten opponents that matched up with them well on the roster side of things, and they took care of business, ultimately won the national championship. So, did it really impact Michigan's success on the field? For me, it's probably a lot more about the double-digit draft picks that Michigan had that made the difference on the field, neither here nor there. But I get it. If you feel intense disdain for this whole thing around Michigan, I hear you. I don't think you're wrong. But as we let the dust settle on this whole thing, on the Connor Stalions saga, and again, the dust has settled, just so we're all on the same page. Ohio State, they won a national championship. Michigan, they got their natty. And then this season, with Jim Harbaugh gone, with Connor Stalions gone, they beat Ohio State again. I'm kind of like, can we just kind of let sleeping dogs lie a little bit here? Again, I'm not condoning cheating. I'm not saying that Michigan didn't cheat. I'm not saying they shouldn't be punished. For the record, again, they were punished. But do we really have to keep like digging this up and making this a story and bringing our energy to it? Unless Michigan is facing massive punishment. I'm talking loss of scholarships to a point where it would hurt them. I'm talking postseason ban. I'm talking revoking of their national championship. Both two of those things, the last two I mentioned, both postseason ban and their national title being stripped from them. Both things I've heard are probably not in play, just again from what I've heard. It's been a minute here. It's been a full college football season since this whole story unfolded. I don't really have the energy to get super upset about this anymore. I don't have the energy to keep rehashing this. Like, what's the point? What's the point? If you're Michigan, again, maybe you're trying to maybe save face a little bit, and maybe you're trying to protect Sherrone Moore to some degree, and if that's what you're doing, more power to you. But even Connor Stalions, I feel like his public reputation is somewhat intact. Like, I don't think there's this massive disapproval rating for a Connor Stalions. I think the Netflix documentary did a good amount to try and repair that. I think a lot of people left that doc saying, yeah, did he break the rules? Maybe, but gosh dang it, if I wouldn't want that guy on my team. That was kind of how I felt watching that thing. And again, I have no dog in the fight here. I'm not an Ohio State fan, not a Michigan fan. I don't have any like major stakes in this whole discussion. I'm just here saying I understand why it was a story. I understand in the moment why we felt so passionately about it. But legitimately, Ohio State got their national title. Michigan got their national title. There's a new head coach. Connor Stalions doesn't work in Michigan anymore. Do we need to keep prolonging this whole song and dance? I guess it's January, so to some degree, I'll continue to talk about it as much as it becomes a story. But if you're doing the whole thing where it's trying to, re-award national titles based on what Michigan had going for them in 2023 rather, during their season, I don't have anything for you. Last time I'll say this, the take for me is Michigan probably cheated. They should have and were punished. They then proceeded to win the most important games in their schedule in the regular season, and then proceeded to win the national championship. Not saying it's right, but I am saying the draft picks probably had a lot more to do with it than any signs ever did. So I understand we'll get some pushback from both sides. That's totally fine. Michigan's going to handle this thing in court, or at least they want to handle this thing in court. They're making it look like they want to handle things in court. But for me personally, for us as the college football public, let's move on. We got much more to talk about in the wonderful world that is modern college football, with a new playoff and NIL and the portal and things that are much more pertinent, that didn't exist to the same degree they did during that era.